I stopped hustling because hustling was killing my joy. Welcome back to day 13. I'm Dr. Nicole, and today I'm getting deeply personal. I'm sharing the story of the year I made a decision that changed everything. The year I chose softness over hustle, ease over effort, and presence over productivity. This isn't just a feel good study. This is about how choosing softness literally saved my health, my relationships, and my connection to myself. And if you're a woman who's been running on empty, calling it strength, this story is for you. It was before COVID, and I was what everyone would call successful. Thriving practice, beautiful family, speaking engagements, growing platform. From the outside, I had it all, but inside, I was dying. I was exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. I would wake up tired, go to bed tired, and spend the entire day pushing through that tiredness with caffeine and willpower. I was emotionally numb. I wasn't present with my kids. I wasn't as connected with my husband. I was going through the motions of my life instead of actually living it. And then came the health scare I mentioned before, the pre-diabetes diagnosis that forced me to face what I had been ignoring. My body was done with hustle. But the moment that really broke me open wasn't in the doctor's office, it was at home, watching my daughter play and realizing I felt nothing. Not joy, not presence, not connection. Just this overwhelming sense of being trapped in a life that looked perfect but felt empty. That night, I sat down and I cried. Not because my life was bad, but because I had become so disconnected from myself that I couldn't even feel my own life anymore. I realized that hustling hadn't made me successful, it had made me a stranger to myself. Here's what I had to face. My hustle wasn't about ambition, it was about trauma. Overworking had become my way of managing fear, fear of failure, fear of letting people down, fear of being judged as not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough. I had learned and observed that love is conditional on performance, that value is tied to productivity, that rest is selfish and struggle is noble. This is childhood program that so many high achieving women carry. We learned that you have to earn love through achievement. You have to prove your worth through exhaustion. You have to measure your value by how much you can handle. But here's the truth. You cannot fix trauma with more trauma. You can't fix the wound of not being enough by doing more. You can only heal it by learning that you're enough exactly how you are. Hustle culture preys on our deepest insecurities and calls it motivation. But that's not motivation, it's fear dressed up as ambition. When I decided to choose softness, people around me were confused. They thought I was giving up, getting lazy, or losing my edge. But softness isn't lazy. Softness isn't passive. Softness isn't weak. It's healing. It's the conscious choice to operate from love instead of fear, to move from presence instead of pressure, to create from joy instead of desperation. Softness is saying, I don't need to prove my worth through my exhaustion. It's saying, I can be successful without sacrificing my soul. It's saying, I choose to live my life instead of surviving it. This was a complete identity shift for me. I had to learn who I was when I wasn't constantly doing, achieving, proving, performing. And what I discovered was that underneath the hustle was a woman who was creative, intuitive, joyful, and deeply connected to herself and others. That woman had been buried under years of productivity and performance. Choosing softness was how I found her again. The changes were immediate and profound. My health improved, my blood sugar stabilized, my energy returned, not the jittery caffeine fueled energy of hustle, but the steady, sustainable energy of alignment. My relationships deepened. I became present with my family again. I could actually listen to my husband instead of mentally planning my next task. I could play with my kids instead of watching them while thinking about work. I developed emotional presence. I could feel my feelings again instead of numbing them with busyness. I could experience joy, peace, contentment emotions that had been buried under stress and overwhelm. I got my feminine glow back. There's something that happens when you stop forcing your way through life and start flowing with it. You become magnetic again. You become radiant. People notice the difference, and I gain clarity. When you're not constantly in motion, you can actually hear your inner wisdom. You can distinguish between what you want and what you think you should want. You can make decisions from alignment instead of anxiety. Here's what's wild. When I moved into ease, my business didn't crumble, it grew because I grew. When I stopped forcing outcomes and started trusting the process, better opportunities presented themselves. When I stopped saying yes to everything and started being selective, the right things showed up. When I stopped creating from desperation and started creating from inspiration, my work became more impactful, more authentic, and more aligned. I attracted better clients, people who valued what I offered instead of people who wanted to drain my energy. I created better content because it came from a genuine place instead of a performative place. My income increased, but more importantly, my fulfillment increased. I was doing work that felt aligned with who I was instead of work that felt like I was performing who I thought I should be. This taught me something profound. Ease is not the opposite of ambition, it's the fuel for sustainable ambition. Here's what that year taught me: you don't have to choose between success and softness. You don't have to sacrifice your well being for your goals. You don't have to earn your worth through exhaustion. The most successful women I know are the ones who have learned to operate from ease. They work hard, but they don't work from desperation. They have goals, but they don't sacrifice their joy to achieve them. They understand that sustainable success comes from sustainable energy. And sustainable energy comes from honoring yourself instead of abandoning yourself. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you're tired of being tired, if you're successful but not fulfilled, if you're ready to choose softness over struggle, know that it's possible. You don't have to wait for a health scare or a breakdown to make this choice. You can choose ease today. Make sure you hit subscribe for day 14, where we're talking about the feminine glow up, identity, image, and inner calm, how you can transform from the inside out. Tell me in the comments, what would choosing softness over hustle look like in your life? I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Dr. Nicole.